You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If Naruto Enters Resident Evil? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Wesker was many things, a scientist, a madman, a genius, a SDST, and a man who saw little value in human life other than his own, but he was not a fool. Umbrella had been sent to Raccoon City and groups of trained heavily fortified agents were dying like flies. He had called in a mercenary he often liked to use for infiltration, but for this task he felt he needed an extra set of hands, especially given that Ada would be against a rogue scientist of Umbrella. With Ada was a bit annoyed as she was forced to have a partner on her mission, as meeting and retrieving things through a middleman was expected on her job. She didn't like the idea of someone right next to her throughout her mission. She moved and worked more fluidly on her own, and her supposed partner seemed very unfit for her line of work as she looked at his face and saw a completely trustworthy person who looked like they could never lie. She wasn't sure if that was intentional or not. Got a name? She asked, deciding to see if he'd lie and so she'd have a name to go by. Naruto Namikaze. Naruto said to her simply. Ada looked at him carefully, seeing he had 2 pistols with extended clips and a hunting knife. She saw that he seemed ready for combat. 2 hours later. You both look like absolute SHT. Naruto said as he saw Ada was wounded and Leon didn't exactly seem in top form. Fight a sewer gator and get stabbed. Ada said as Naruto pulled out the shard from her leg. I see he's still alive, she said, seeing Leon. Hold still. Naruto said, taking out a can of spray and sprayed her wound. What is that? Ada asked demandingly as it burned. Disinfectant, we're in a sewer. Naruto said, pointing out her wound could become infected otherwise. Ada felt the burn subside after a few moments. Thank you, she said as she got up and saw his right arm was a bit scratched up. What the F happened to you? She asked him, seeing him fight, not thinking there was anything normal that could harm him. That F giant got hold of his arm and he took his eye. Leon said as he was impressed Naruto actually did some harm to the giant that was seemingly made of cement as bullets bounced off him. The eyes are always the weakness of any species. Naruto said to them as the eyes were not something that could be enhanced to be tougher, so it was a better shot than wasting ammo. Ada had to concede that was brilliant, as not only had he actually wounded the T-00, but he crippled it, disabling its sight and vision by half, and now they had a better means to kill it, as she was almost positive shooting its brain would kill it. Few minutes later. You just carry DRGS? Leon asked as Naruto gave him and Ada some basic first aid and some antibiotics as they rode in the monorail. When I know I'm going to a DMN sewer, I like to be prepared. Naruto said as he addressed both their wounds as best he could. Ada had to give him that one, as this sewer was an absolute hell hole. She was surprised the scientists could get here without catching something. Where did you train? Leon asked as Naruto moved very fluidly, as he seemed like both a soldier and an acrobat. Believe it or not, I trained with monks and sages. I learned how to use my fists and weapons from them, had to make up my own style with the guns though. Naruto said to him. Ada had to admit that did in fact seem interesting, as she had been trained off the streets at a young age and was trained by mercenaries/assassins to use her body in many ways. You look barely 20. Leon said to him. Ada, while not one to shout her age, was 25, she wondered if she was the oldest person here. I'm 25. Naruto said, neither of the men noticing Ada's slight relief. I was a street kid, I was raised on the streets, and let me tell you, I was an annoying piece of SHT, he said, not denying what a pain he was. I never knew my parents, they died when I was born. Then one day this really perv hermit was watching women at an outdoor bathhouse, he said with a chuckle. And what part of Japan was this in? Ada asked as well. Never tied down. She did love her homeland and often went there for the baths. Doesn't matter, he traveled a lot. I heard one woman spotted him and broke every bone in his body with her bare hands. Naruto said to them. Leon shivered as he had the eyes of the opposite SEC and he had negative reactions, some verbal some violent. Ada liked this tale and asked if he knew the technique in which the woman broke the man's bones, making Naruto and Leon inch away from her slightly as she had a sadistic gleam in her eyes that thirsted for information. Few minutes later. Listen, me and Ada will handle that giant golem and that ugly thing. Naruto said as he and Ada were well equipped. And what about her? Claire asked, looking at the sick little girl in her arms. Naruto went over to her and took out a small but advanced jet injector. This is a cocktail of DRGs, they are low doses meant for an adult, but it should help her, he said as this was a gamble. The adults were silent, not sure what to say or do or how to even argue, as the child was pale and her breathing was slow. If something was not done quick the girl would die. Naruto injected her and the reaction was immediate. Her breathing was more stable and she seemed in less pain. Sherry, listen, we are going to save you, okay? We just need you to be strong for just a little longer, okay? He said, brushing her hair. Keep her safe, he said as they split up. Ada was silent till she was sure Leon and Claire were out of earshot. You are not what I expected when I thought I'd have a partner, she said in total honesty. Why did you help that girl? She asked. As with anyone else, she'd have used them as a hostage, but never a child. She had some morals even doing what she did. She lost everything when this started, her father and now even her mother. Naruto said, not liking this mission as they were technically the bad guys despite the mother researching the zombies and ignoring her daughter during this crisis. I refuse to let her die when I can do something to help her, he said to Ada with pure conviction. Ada was silent, her respect for this man becoming greater as in this short amount of time she saw genuine skill, respect for others, and pure talent. This man was not someone she'd wish to fight or have as an enemy. They kept walking, listening for the sound of heavy footsteps or inhuman sounds. 1 hour later. You do realize this is potentially worse than what's outside, right? Naruto asked Ada as she retrieved a tissue sample from the Birkin patriarch as he chased after his own daughter. Ada had to admit he had a point, as this virus was intelligent when in contact with a living being. It knew and sensed things. I'm completing my mission, she said as there were limits, but Weskier was going to get it one way or another. Tell Weskier to pay me, I'm gonna go save Leon. Naruto said, pushing a bow with a rocket launcher down riding atop it. Ada had to give him credit, he had ball fighting the way he did and not show an ounce of fear. Few minutes later. Listen, we don't need to take that thing out, we just need to slow it down. Naruto said, seeing the G-virus fully take the man and become a monster pursuing the train. Distract it, and on my signal, you run to the front of the train with the girls, he said to him, getting a nod. Naruto grabbed some of the ammo from the rocket launcher, added it to the link connecting the train car and took off his shirt, wrapping it in a bundle with the remaining ammo from the rocket launcher. Leon, run, he said to him as the man ran, as he threw the bundle at the monster and shot it. Hearing the beast's cries of pain was his signal as he ran and shot the link with the ammo, causing it to explode. Naruto and Leon watched as the creature was consumed by the explosion's flames, burning to a crisp, but they took solace as the train was going faster, having less weight from the other train cars. 1 hour later. Any idea where we are? Claire asked, carrying Sherry as it was hot as all hell. That train wasn't stopping, and I'm guessing with how illegal it is, we probably went across state lines. Naruto said to her simply. They knew that given the area was flatland and basically a desert, but it was nice confirmation. How far do you think we got? Leon asked as he knew a train could travel a mile in less than 2 minutes, and they were on that train for less than an hour. Added to that, the train didn't stop and was at top speed and in another state. He was guessing they were somewhere in the range of 200 miles away from Raccoon City. Couple 100 miles. Naruto said to him simply. Leon took a look at Sherry and was sure she was asleep. So mind telling me how it is you work with Ada? He asked as those two seemed like polar opposites. I'm a mercenary, I was hired for retrieval of the G-virus, I was under the impression I was stealing a biological weapon, not helping someone else get it back. Naruto said to him. Leon believed him as after what Naruto did for the little girl in Claire's arms he knew the man wasn't the type for a second agenda like Ada. 1 hour later. The three made it to a gas station where there was not much to eat and drink and the man behind the counter was giving them hassle, till all the adults pointed a gun at him which Sherry found a bit funny. Any ideas who we can call? Claire asked eating a bag of peanuts. Well, government's out. Naruto said as if anyone knew they survived that hellhole city, they'd be branded as either lunatics or silenced for knowing too much. Well, we need to call someone. Leon said as they had a child and walking through the hot flatland sounded like certain death. Naruto sighed as he took out a phone and made a call. 6 months later. Has anyone ever told you, you rock in the kitchen? Leon said as he was chowing down next to Sherry as Naruto cooked lunch. You do, Leon, every time I cook. Naruto said as after the Raccoon City debacle he had to call in a favor from a famous medic he knew who taught him what he knew of medicine. She had a certain pull, and given that he, Leon, Claire, and Sherry survived the city they had numerous tests run on them for about a week. He and Leon were dragged into special forces labeled as experts in this field now working for a military branch under the White House. Claire was seen as a flight risk given who her brother was and she was a reporter. So they let her go immediately, and Sherry was a difficult situation as there were many threats spoken about when the girl's custody went to them and not a more official person as the little girl had a cure for the G-virus running through her veins and now had antibodies making her invaluable. Naruto called in another favor to make it so she was under his custody and did regular BLD work every so often. That's because you cook the best food. Sherry said eating a healthy bowl of ramen having fallen in love with the dish as Naruto added all sorts of protein in it for his exercise. Leon had to admit, this was the best part of his day as despite all the government's crazy training and all the horror he had been exposed to, this was nice and comforting as he was sure this big house would feel empty and he'd been drinking to the point of poisoning if he was here all alone. Many miles away. Ada smirked seeing Naruto basically playing babysitter to the little girl and Leon. She wanted to check in on him as she had a job near DC and took the opportunity to see them. She saw that he was Sherry's guardian and it was a bit of a step up of her opinion in him as men rarely if ever claimed responsibility. Few years later. Claire, I need your help. Leon said over the phone as he called Claire, one of the few people who he could trust with anything in the world. Claire told him she was on her way and would be there soon. 3 hours later. What do you mean he got kidnapped? Claire said in a loud whisper to Leon in order to not wake Sherry. The guy is built for combat, she said as she had seen him fight. He fought on another level compared to everyone else. Leon turned on his TV and hit play having readied this earlier. Claire watched the video seeing it was a car cam. She saw the car rolled over and soon saw Naruto with a blonde girl, the president's daughter. She asked in surprise seeing Naruto fire off shots at people dressed in old-fashioned clothing and soon saw their red eyes. This cannot get out, Claire, or it's high treason. Leon said to her knowing who she was. We salvaged corpses and they all have giant parasites in them, he said as this bow was next level as apparently all hosts were alive, but the parasite somehow took control. They think it might be similar to the G-virus, thinking it's some sort of hive mind, he said to her. So who's calling the shots? Claire asked him. Unconfirmed, but what is confirmed is that they were after Naruto and Ashley specifically. Leon said as he wondered what the connection to the both of them was as Naruto made sense on one angle being a doctor as he periodically checked on Sherry's results and her BLD work. Ashley was another story entirely as she was a bargaining chip. He saw the separate reasons why they'd be taken, but not together. Go save him. Sherry said making the special ops agent almost reach for his gun and Claire to jump in surprise. He needs your help, she said walking over giving him a hug. I know you'll save him, she said walking off. How the hell are we complete messes, but she's stable? Claire asked as they all went through SHT that night in that hellhole of a city, but Sherry seemed completely put together and somehow mature. She even had confidence that Leon would save Naruto and Ashley. Believe it or not, Naruto. Leon said as Naruto made sure they didn't lay about in self-pity. He took them outside to enjoy nature and the quiet and serene sounds it made. It honestly helped a lot better than the CRP therapy he was assigned, but Naruto once commented it was that and the fact they all were with each other understanding each other's pain better than anyone else. Claire chuckled, "Well, what are you waiting for? You heard the little lady, get off your ass and go," she said, rushing him outside. Next day. Leon was never coming back to Spain again, unless it was to burn this hellhole to the ground as he saw more and more infected seeing them act as zombies, but they were worse as they were coherent enough to use weapons. Next day. "Wake up, jackass," Naruto said, punching Leon in the face. Leon got up feeling all types of disoriented and saw Naruto seeing they were both in an old-fashioned but nice room. "Listen Leon, we're kinda screwed right now," Naruto said to him, exposing his eye to Leon, allowing him to see certain off-colored veins appear. "We're infected right now," he said to him, seeing his shock. "What happened?" Leon asked, wondering what had happened in his rest. "These PP are all puppets to some scientist as, he came here after Raccoon City and used this old as parasite to be some kinda god to these idiots," Naruto said, giving him the gist. "Is there a cure?" Leon asked in hope, as if there was none. He complete his mission then execute himself, not wanting to be turned. "Yeah, but you're not gonna like it," Naruto said to him, informing him about the umbrella scientist that was here. Leon told him he had met him earlier. "Apparently there is a machine that can expose us to UV light which these as are weak to," he said, informing him of what he knew about the scientist. Leon really hated this mission with a burning passion. "Why were you taken?" he asked Naruto. "You know how I do Sherry's blood work?" Naruto asked him, getting a nod. "Well, we moved on to human trials of the vaccine for the G-virus. I took one of the samples in my BLD. Apparently Las Plagas parasites feed on the body's nutrients. The parasites adapt to their host system. These PP infected me so the parasite in me would gain an immunity and some kinda new traits they'd implant in all the other hosts," Naruto explained to him. "Great, in the war against disease it'll be parasites that succeed us," Leon said as this got incredibly worse. "Wait, how long have you been infected?" he asked him curiously. "Almost 3 days, apparently my body is fighting off the parasite somehow, scared that umbrella guy to no end," Naruto said, as it was kind of interesting that his body was fighting a parasite. They were brought out of their thoughts as Father Mendez entered and grabbed Leon by his that, staring him dead in the eye. Seeing the change was showing, he left, locking the door after that. "So how long do I have?" Leon asked Naruto. "You 2.5 days. They injected you yesterday," Naruto said, as it was morning now. "So are you two gonna get off your lazy ass?" a familiar voice said from the window as both men saw Ada. "Oh dear God," Leon said to himself as she opened the window for them and dragged them outside. Few minutes later. "The F does Wesker want with this BS?" Leon asked, as parasites seemed like the opposite of his virus. "Apparently they have some varying similarities between it and the G-virus, plus him," Ada said as she pointed at Naruto. She tossed him a phone and he got a call. "Hello Mr. Namikaze, a shame you decided to no longer work for me. Your DNA is intriguing," Wesker said to him. "Let's not BS Wesker, I know what you want," Naruto said to him, giving Leon a look that all but said, "Shut the F up, my BLD can withstand your virus and you wanna know how," he said, as it was true. Before he took the G vaccine his BLD showed heavy signs of resistance to the other virus as well as G. It was unclear what would happen given they could not risk testing a vaccine on him without certainty, but in the end, he was a step or a possible cure for Wesker's virus. "A genetic trait or anomaly in your BLD," Wesker said to him. "My guess is you want my BLD to find a weakness or some way to push your existing virus to new heights," Naruto said, as that was his best guess given Ada hadn't taken a shot at him yet. Wesker was silent, as was Leon when Naruto said this. $10 million for your BLD," Wesker said to him. "Deal," Naruto said to him, as a screen showed the transfer being done and Ada took his BLD as Wesker ended the call. "Why in God's name did you give him what he wanted?" Leon asked in anger. My BLD is tainted moron, like yours. Naruto said to him simply, with my BLD with this parasite, that sample should be next to useless, and now we have a digital paper trail to follow when we get the F out of here, he said as he took 10 million from Wesgear. Leon shut up after that as Naruto made a point, and it'd be a nice middle finger to the guy that caused them all sorts of hell. Ada had to admit it was funny that her boss made a misstep and Naruto took advantage. It was unbelievably clever, and he might not notice the fake, she thought, having an idea on what to give Wesgear. Now, let's get out of here, but first. Naruto said, taking out his gun, taking a bullet, removing the gunpowder inside and igniting it with a lighter, and soon the house was on fire. Hope that father burns, he said to as they got far away. Few hours later. What the F was that? Ada asked in total shock, seeing a giant creature try to kill them, but now saw it was dead and sinking given the BLD it leaked in the water. A salamander, these PP experimented on it with the plaga and now it has lungs and gills. Naruto said as evolution took an interesting turn for this beast. Ada and Leon were shocked as a salamander could easily sit in their palms. To see one grow to that size was a terrifying thought in evolution. Few hours later. What kinda F-up place did we come to? Ada asked as they saw a literal troll covered in scrap metal and was saved by a white wolf Leon had befriended earlier. Please tell me that's not the result of all the plaga. Leon asked, wondering how the FA parasite made something grow. It varies. Naruto said as he saw multiple mutations for this plague. Few minutes later. What do you think would get out of Naruto? Ada asked Leon curiously. The plaga, no F idea, something scary though. Leon said as there were few people he could consider his equal physically, most of them were here. To think what could happen to Naruto was terrifying. Ada had the same thought. Your friend is back, she said, seeing the white wolf from earlier. Leon saw him and smiled. He may have imprinted on you after you saved him. Naruto said to him. Doesn't imprint mean love? Ada asked curiously. It's a dual word. Imprinting can mean love in a romantic sense, of familial sense with animals. Naruto said to her, might be a good idea to take him with us, he said as the wolf came to them when he whistled him over. The wolf came to Naruto and sat down and panted as Naruto pet him. 1 hour later. Hey Ash. Naruto said with a weak smile as he could see she was infected like them. Ashley ran to him and gave him a hug. We got company. Ada said, seeing everyone was piling up outside the gate. We're in a church, look for some wine and holy oil. Naruto said as those things were common in a church. They all looked around and found them. I have been meaning to ask, but how are you so knowledgeable with fire and explosives? Leon asked him curiously. When I was a kid, I often got in trouble for tagging, and later on I got into blowing stuff up, nothing large scale. Naruto said, seeing the odd looks he got. Hey, be grateful, watch this, he said, throwing out the Molotov they made outside, setting fire to the crowd in the cemetery. 20 minutes later. Everyone back to back. Ash, take my pistol. Naruto said as they barricaded the windows and began to unleash lead upon their enemies. Luis, I swear if you're wasting my DMN time with this. Ada said as this was why she hated middlemen. They either didn't have what they said or there was a bunch of SHT they had to do to get it. 30 minutes later. I swear this brings new meaning to human centipede. Naruto said, seeing the father unleash his body. Everyone felt sick seeing such exposed insides, Naruto's joke not helping. Why is it every time I go on a mission with you there is fire and explosions? Leon asked as they shot the father with everything they had. Because I make statements to the PP I flip off. Naruto said with a smile as he shot the spinal cord, severing the man in half. 3 hours later. We need to burn this place to the DMN ground. Ada said in pure annoyance as she had been injected with the plaga. The white wolf barked in agreement. I agree, Naruto. Thoughts? Leon asked his friend. We need to look at the basements. Naruto said, thinking hard. That's where armory, munitions, wine cellars, and other SHT was stored back in the day of castles. he said, as that was the only place where it could be held. Few minutes later. I am so in love right now. Ada said, as while she liked subtlety she enjoyed the fact they had commandeered a large cannon, fire, she yelled, hitting more ugly monsters and hit the castle, destroying it. Listen, me and Leon are gonna go kill that Napoleon rip-off, cover us and meet up when you're done. Naruto said as Leon pet his new wolf. Watch her back. Leon said to him, getting a bark as a reply. 12 hours later. You alright? Naruto asked, as it must have been hard fighting a mentor and having them turn on you. Yeah, let's go grab Ashley. Leon said as they walked deeper into the island. 2 hours later. Come on, you two. Naruto said as he was feeling exhausted. Luis, I swear to Christ this SHT better work. He thought Ashley getting the first treatment, then Leon, then Ada, and finally him. Naruto felt as if he was getting electroshock therapy, feeling things pop inside his body. Naruto saw his life flash before his eyes as he was treated, all the pain, suffering and everything in between. Few minutes later. Let's kill this guy. Leon said as he was sick of this SHT. I want him to suffer. Ada said as she was going to kill this thing. Naruto smiled as they were all gonna kill a giant monster. Next day. Claire smiled seeing Sherry hug Naruto tightly. Glad you're back. 1 month later. Do you need to search me every time? Naruto said as he entered the White House despite the fact he worked here. The guard said nothing as they let him by. He went to the Oval Office. Bows are on the rise, Naruto, you and Leon are my experts, but I need you to put together a special division to prepare for a fallout like this, the president said to him as after his daughter's kidnapping things were getting serious after each event. Naruto had no way of denying that. I have an idea, but I'm going to need some things and maybe a pardon. Naruto said, causing the president to raise an eyebrow. 2 weeks later. Why did I agree to this? Ada asked curiously as she met with Naruto at Leon's home. Because you literally have no options. Naruto said as Leon blew the whistle on Ada as her face and name were widely known and the fact she was a known associate of Weskier made her a target for a magnitude of reasons. Ada had to admit he had a point as Weskier was bound to find out the plaga sample she gave him was fake and the fact Naruto's BLD was tainted would aggravate him to no end. So you're my new boss, huh? She asked with a teasing smirk. Oh, this won't end well. Naruto thought to himself. 6 months later. Ashley Graham smiled as she waved at her boyfriend as she waited at a coffee shop. Ever since her abduction, she wanted to make a difference, so she pursued a career in military politics. She wanted to be more involved and in control with the current threats she had seen. She went to Naruto as soon as she could, thinking he and Leon were the best people to talk to about the hidden issues of the world. She talked to him a lot and after a while asked him out. How's screwing with politicians? Naruto asked in amusement as Ashley was certainly her father's daughter as she did not take CRP from anyone and did not settle with corruption. Still fun. Ashley said with a smirk. How's Sherry? She asked as it was a bit odd to date someone who had a daughter that was a decade younger than her. Started high school, she is eager to follow in my and Leon's footsteps. Naruto said as Leon was terrified when she said that as Sherry was one of the purest things in their lives, it drove Leon to work harder to kill people with bows and kill Weskier, to the same level as Jill. Ashley chuckled as Sherry loved Naruto and looked up to him and Leon. It was hard not to as both were living heroes. I have a meeting to get to see you tonight, she asked, giving him a wink. Yeah. Naruto said as he walked away. As both departed they had no idea they were being spied upon through a rifle scope which thankfully wasn't attached to a gun. She certainly got bold. Ada thought to herself as she spied on Naruto to keep herself entertained. She watched him on dates or on secret missions he was on that she was not supposed to know about. I wonder how he is in bed, she thought curiously as she saw Naruto train. He certainly earned all those muscles and made sure his body was flexible and adaptive. He was like a combination of Leon and Chris at their best. Few hours later. God, he's so strong. Ashley thought to herself as Naruto pinned her to his bed. She feeling him rip off her shirt and tear off her panties, leaving her in just her lowers and stockings. her low E-cups were barely contained by her BR, her thong rode up her heart-shaped peach, and her curvy model body trembled in anticipation of Naruto's touch. She felt a sudden rush of fear as she felt Naruto's member. My god, how big is he? She thought, blushing furiously as he strppd down. She admired his marble sculpted muscles and focused as he took off his lowers. She saw his member and was wondering how she'd fit it in her. Oh my god, he's thicker than a can and he's so long, she thought, thinking he was about 13 long. She immediately went down on him, knowing there was no way in hell she'd be able to take it without bath. Naruto pushed Ashley down on the bed and laid down next to her. Stmifce, he said, seeing her rush to sit on his face as he began doing her out. Ashley let out a small whine as he ate her out. She looked at his PP, seeing it stand tall and proud. She didn't want to be the only one to receive pleasure and began liking his PP, slowly taking it in her mouth, reaching her limit halfway. God, she thought, feeling disappointed she couldn't take more, but the taste of his PP was hypnotic. She jumped in surprise, feeling Naruto tease her back door. Is he gonna? She thought, feeling even more nervous as she never took anything there before. Naruto gave Ashley's peach a nice SPNK, seeing her jump a bit. He smiled, giving it another SPNK, each harder than the last, and the harder he slapped it the louder Ashley's were on his PP. Ashley felt Naruto shift and pulled away from his PP, but liked her lips savoring the taste. She squeaked as he got her on her back and rubbed the tip of his massive PP against her entrance. Oh man, you're huge, she said, laughing a bit nervously. She was silenced when he pulled her into a kiss, his TQ invading her mouth, dominating it right before he that fully ins her PP. She felt her mind go into a daze after that, feeling Naruto stretch her inner walls and breach her most sacred place. She loudly, feeling him pull back and move into her without mercy. Naruto felt it each time he that into Ashley. Each of his move caused her to let out a mini CLMX. He grabbed her tips and began to play with them, ate an SING down on her tips, causing Ashley to scream in bliss. Ashley felt her eyes roll up slightly into her head as Naruto began picking up the pace, showing her no mercy as he claimed her PP and reshaped it. I'm gonna get addicted to this, she thought, as there was no way this won't happen more often, as Naruto's PP was too good to pass up. She perked up, feeling him twitch ins her and loudly, feeling him fill up her WMB and PP. She twitched as she felt fuller than she ever had in her life, and sadly feeling Naruto pull out. She panted and blushed, seeing his juices pour out of her like a faucet. We're not done, Ashley, not by a long shot, Naruto said, still very irked, and his PP looked ready for more action. Ashley felt vulnerable as he painted her PP white with his juices. He held out his hand and she took it, being pulled up, feeling his juices leak down her. She felt Naruto's PP press between her peach cheeks and knew what was. Just as she was about to get on all fours, she was surprised when he picked her up from behind, getting her into a full Nelson, exposing both her oles. She felt him align his PP with her peach and dropped her right on. She clicks then and there as Naruto made her take him to his base. We're gonna do this a lot, Ashley, I won't leave an inch or ole untouched, Naruto said, feeling her peach tighten around his PP. I'll F you every night, he said to her. Please, Ashley said in desperation, wanting him to have her in any way he wanted. My PP, my peach, my moth, they're all yours, she said, as if Naruto wanted her to do something she'd do it eagerly. Naruto increased his pace, thatting into Ashley's peach, fully intending on giving her a limp. Ashley screamed, feeling him begin to leak again, filling her lowers with his juices. On your knees, Naruto said, gently putting her down, gently seeing her fall to her knees but stare and look up to him. She knew what was gonna happen next and opened her mouth. She choked as Naruto that the entirety of his PP down her. That, I'm gonna mark you, Ashley, he said as he that furiously into her mouth, eager to pour his juices down her that and mark her face. Ashley as Naruto was merciless with her. She was eager for him to fill her up again. She wanted his juices to fill her stomach like he did with her other oles. She soon got her wish as she felt Naruto pour his juices down her, that filling her stomach, making her feel filled, and as he pulled out he coated her face in his juices. Naruto got on the bed, pulling Ashley to him and laid down. We're not done, Ashley, he said, seeing her look at his PP in fear. Next morning, Ashley Graham was sore in a fantastic way all over. She smiled as she opened her eyes, seeing she was lying on Naruto's chest. She tried to pick herself up, but felt incredibly weak. She looked down seeing Naruto's PP was still in her, plugging her PP up, keeping his juices trapped in her. She managed to separate from him and with each step she took, feeling empty without him, and especially now that his juices was escaping her PP, she made it to the bathroom and admired herself and took in her smell. "Gotta say, you took it like a champ," Ada said, making Ashley jump in surprise, which made her fall to her knees as she was still sensitive. "So how does it feel to be a sec toy?" she asked as she placed cameras in Naruto's room and saw how he used Ashley to please himself with. Ashley blushed at the question. "What are you doing?" she asked in a hushed whisper as Ada walked over to her and put her fingers in her. Ada pulled her fingers out of Ashley and liked them. "He even tastes good," she said as she began to strp. Ashley blushed as she admired Ada's body, as the woman was literally walking SEC appeal. She was often concerned with her own looks when comparing herself to Ada. She had F-cup-sized melons, a curvy body with perfect peach and thick thighs, and her peach was round and plump. Ada was now completely naked and pulled Ashley into the shower. Ashley and whimpered as Ada had her pressed against the shower wall and was cheering her with great skill. She looked down as Ada got on her knees and began eating her out. She felt incredible having an appealing woman like Ada eat her out. Ada stopped eating Ashley out when she no longer had any of Naruto's juices left in her. "You need to get creative if you want to please Naruto. He was still hard when you woke up," she said as after watching Naruto plow the president's daughter, she went to sleep and woke up early to catch the president's daughter off guard. But she was surprised to see Naruto was still hard after all the F he did to Ashley and how much juices he unleashed in and on her. Have you?" Ashley asked her curiously, wondering if Ada and Naruto ever did the deed. "Nope, but not for lack of trying," Ada said as Naruto was a real challenge to stuck. He was one of the only people on the planet to keep pace with her. She sent him pictures of her in lingerie, did some nudes, even broke into his room a few times and was the first thing he woke up to. He was by far the biggest challenge she has ever faced in Stuckton, but after what I saw, Naruto is always in control, she said, very impressed that Naruto could maintain such control in bed as he did in combat. "So you need to learn how to please him as much as possible, and I'm gonna join you," she said as Ashley had a look of shock on her face. Few hours later, Ada smiled at her handiwork as she and Ashley went shopping for lingerie. She helped Ashley pick up smooth silk white mesh stockings, a white open BR, and a matching crotchless thong. Ashley felt very salty wearing this and was especially nervous about what Ada got. The woman went to a sex shop and bought rather risque items. Ada was wearing a lewd French-maid outfit. Her frilly micro-skirt barely hid anything. She wore a black lacy thong, and her blouse completely put her tips on display, not even hiding them. She had similar stockings to Ashley, and she wore CC stiletto heels. "You look like a complete wear," Ashley said as that was generous as she looked at Ada. "Ash, we want to get plowed, that's the intention," Ada said with a smile. "Plus don't think I didn't notice you while we were shopping," she said with a superior grin. "You want Naruto to knock you up," she said as she spotted Ashley looking at certain stores focusing on infant supplies. "I bet you were not even using protection," she said, referring to BRTHC and TRL. Ashley's blush was all the proof she needed. "What are you gonna tell him, SLT? You might have made him a daddy," she said as she was both impressed and amazed the blonde sweet girl had done this. "Why not ask him yourself?" Naruto asked, leaning on the door and surprising them both as they saw him in a wife beater and some shorts, sporting a nice sweat as he had been working out prior. He walked over to Ashley and gripped her peach before pulling her into a kiss. Ada watched as Naruto massaged Ashley's peach as he claimed her lips. She got a bit corny as seeing Naruto be and was much more impressive in person than a camera. Ashley and blushed as Naruto began to SPNK her peach. "Naughty girl, if you are PRGNing, that's amazing," Naruto said with a smile as he always wanted children, "but we're gonna make sure you're PRGNing. I'm gonna fill you up to the brink. If you thought last night was rough, I was being gentle, Ashley. That was our first time together. I'm gonna wreck you," he said with a grin. Both women were shocked Naruto was going easy on Ashley. "God, I never see him with other women, and there is no way he masks," Ada thought, wondering how pent up he could have been. Naruto released Ashley and looked at Ada, making the woman flinch at the look in his eyes. She saw him walk to her, his PP pressing against her thigh. you're a naughty girl Ada, he said giving her peach a strong slap. You are going to kneel and watch as if Ashley, he said as not a second later Ada was on her knees panting a bit as she stared at Naruto. Ashley as Naruto backed to her and got her on all fours dating immediately into her peach. I thought you were gonna knock me up, she said as she panted as he her peach mercilessly. I'm gonna F you my way Ash, I'm gonna make sure you are as filled as you were last night. Naruto said fully intending to make sure she was absolutely knocked up. Ada was watching with carnal interest and just as she was about to slide her fingers into her soaking wet entrance one look from Naruto stopped her cold tease, she thought as he was denying her the right to fjr herself. Please Naruto F my pee-pee let me make you a daddy and give you little blonde babies. Ashley said her longing to be knocked up growing by the second, she felt Naruto's longing grow as well as his that became ever fiercer in her peach. Ada watched as Naruto pulled out of her peach and went for her pee-pee now being so up close she could see Ashley's stomach had a noticeable bulge every time Naruto moved into her, she watched as Ashley lost herself to the pleasure, her eyes rolling into her skull, she watched for what seemed like hours Naruto takes Ashley in pretty much every position she knew drilling into her pee-pee filling it to the brim with juices. I swear if you're not PRGNet after this, you're gonna be sore for weeks, she thought in amusement seeing Naruto put Ashley on her side and looked at her, every muscle in her body tightening from the sheer look of his gaze, she winced feeling him grab her thong and ripped it off giving her a wedgie. It's funny, you dressed as a maid. Naruto said as it was funny as Ada always said she did whatever she wanted and that no one could tell her what to do, yet she was dressed as a person meant to be told what to do. Ada saw the irony especially when she chose it herself. Naruto was quick and got Ada over his lap and began to SPNK her. Ada not restraining herself with each slap she received, she felt Naruto slip a fjr into her pee-pee finding her GSPT rather quickly. Oh my god, she thought biting her lip. Hope you understand this isn't gonna be a one-time thing. Naruto said as he had a large SXL appetite whenever he got going and given how teasing Ada could be there was going to be a lot. Oh yeah and where will you F me? Ada asked curious as to how he'd do it. Well in bed, in the shower, the car, a mission, and pretty much anywhere, and I'll F you however I want Ada. Naruto said sticking his fjr in her peach and fjring it as he was her pee-pee moments ago. Ada as Naruto was getting aggressive and she was loving it. The two deadly agents changed positions. Ada's front was now pressed against a nearby wall and Naruto was datting into her peach picking up her legs. DMN. Ada thought as Naruto certainly wasn't a one-trick pony as most people had a KNK where they focused on one part of their lover, but Naruto was giving all parts of her equal attention. Come on Ada, it's no fun when you give in. Naruto said kissing her neck. Ada gave him a weak pleasured glare as Naruto pulled out her peach to F her PP. Should I knock you up with Ashley, start a little army of super spy kids? Naruto said as he could honestly picture a mini version of him and Ada, smart, cunning, and very deadly in every way possible. Ada tightened at the thought never thinking she'd find a partner whom she could have kids with, she jumped as she felt Naruto start to leak ins her F. He must be part horse, he was meant to breed she thought as the sheer volume of juices in her was inhuman, she felt it slosh around in her as he kept sting. Naruto soon put Ada on the bed and got her into a mating press, he gave some special attention to her melons sing them aggressively as he deaded away at her CNT. God you are AF animal. Ada said loudly in pleasure and lust, you F us like toys, she said with a lewd smile, I need you to keep F me, and that blonde thirsty SLT, we're yours you F stud, she said as she was reaching the heights to nirvana. I am Ada, I'll F you both every day. Naruto said feeling her tighten and scream at the top of her lungs as they both shared an explosive CLMX. Few hours later. Ada panted as Naruto shot another load onto her face and tips, she savored the warmth of his juices before she liked it up, she looked at his PP feeling raw all over, she let out a loud as she looked down as Ashley had awoken and joined them, the president's daughter was liking her PP furiously trying to devour Naruto's juices in her. Both women could honestly say they loved the taste of Naruto's juices and would love to continuously devour it, they both learned much of the other woman's body as they F with Naruto. 1 year later. The US of A was doing pretty well ever since Naruto's division had been doing so well. They outed a national security advisor who Ada had done underhanded deals with in the past. He apparently worked with a secret group called Neo Umbrella and was immediately put to death by the US. Leon had seen massive changes and now had a junior partner in the form of Sherry. There was less bioterrorism, but some random occurrence that was similar popped up every once in a while. He had gotten together with Claire and both were engaged now. Chris kept taunting them and kept calling Leon his little brother. Jill was doing better as well and even started hanging out with Ada as ever since the woman helped the US. Weskier lost much of his resources, which Jill saw a big giant future to the man. Naruto had 3 children now, one from Ashley whom he named after his mentor Tsunade, as the baby had many features similar to her. Ada gave BRTH to twin girls, she named one Sarada and the other Hinawari. All the children were close to their parents in looks, and even being a few months old the parents knew they were troublemakers. Naruto could say many things about his life, most of it was pretty awesome. Some of it was pretty crazy, and some of it kinda as it was bats hit nuts, but his friends and family were the best part of his life. Raccoon City. I swear I'm gonna kill Weskier. Naruto said as he was being shot at by a cyborg infected with a machine gun for an arm. This does not pay enough, he said, as there were limits to his services. Being shot at by his employer's own creation was one of them. 1 hour later. How the F does this SHT get on the ceiling? Naruto asked himself, picking up a girl as she had been infected with a parasite. Eat this, he said, force-feeding her some herbs, and the moment she ingested she soon threw up a parasite which he shot. Few minutes later. Why does Umbrella want the cure? Jill asked, finding it odd. Power, you have the cure, you have the disease, all that's left is to decide on how it's used and on whom. Naruto said, as that was his best guess on what Weskier wanted it for. Jill hated how much sense that made and hated the sick schmuck who thought of it. 30 minutes later. Not dead till it's on fire. Naruto said as the gunslinging dynamo lost his gun in a fiery explosion and now became a beast of pure flesh and muscle. He lit a Molotov and threw it at the supposed corpse, and when he did it screamed. He pulled Jill past the gate and shot the chain holding it up. Few minutes later. That thing has a taste for our BLD, it must be how it's tracking us. Naruto said, in the hospital with 2 people working for Umbrella, also that guy on your team, we see him, we shoot him, he said, as there was no room for arguing. They were interrupted by the sounds of zombies outside. This city, a soldier said. If we had a few flamethrowers we could probably torch them. Naruto said, as large groups like this would burn fast as they piled up. I can make one. Carlos said to them. This is a hospital, they have tanks of gases and chemicals you can't find in regular places. Naruto said, as that was as good a place as any to start. 1 hour later. The hospital looked like a war zone, as outside there were piles of flaming zombies, the inside had holes in the ground and bullet holes on the wall, and the floor was covered in BLD and other substances. Okay, a nuke, yeah, let's get this DMN vaccine. Naruto said as Jill got infected and Carlos used it to save her. As heroic as it was, they still needed the vaccine, as that was their only bargaining chip not to be shot down if they escaped this hellhole. Sorry about your friend. Jill said as Carlos' friend didn't make it. It's fine. Carlos said as the entire night was a huge nightmare in his opinion. 1 hour later. What are you doing? Jill asked Naruto curiously. Writing down the formula for this CRP, we may lose the vial to our own idiocy, but we'll have the formula, and the worst case is it's still in your BLD and the government does a bunch of illegal tests which you probably won't get a say in. Naruto said as a cure to a plague this big the government won't care about a person's rights. Jill had to admit he made a point and didn't like his worst case as it sounded probable given this place would be nuked. Few hours later. I swear, I wish I had something this powerful on hand. Naruto said as Jill took a shot at the now giant creature, as even an acid bath hadn't been able to kill it. This is probably my new favorite thing. Jill said as this weapon was amazing as she fired it again and was forced to place it back in its charging station. Next day. So you know PP about Umbrella? Naruto asked Carlos. Makes sense in a way, he said to himself mostly. How the F does that make sense in your mind? Jill asked him curiously, wondering how that possibly made sense. Corporations often have dummy crews that do a lot of the work, but have secret plans with hidden higher authority. Why the old man was in charge and that prick was able to take advantage, he was a plant from the get-go. They use people like Carlos as a smokescreen, as I'm willing to bet his record is clean. Naruto said to her. Jill had to admit that made sense, as, besides the prick, Carlos and his friends were the real deal. Kinda sucks that I was used. Was any of it real? Carlos asked Naruto curiously. Probably all of it. I am willing to bet your umbrella SHT is tagged with trackers or cameras or hell even audio devices. Umbrella may be able to stay afloat somehow. Naruto said as Carlos and Jill looked at him in shock. Few years later. What did you do to her? Naruto said demandingly as he was on the phone with one Albert Wesker. An experiment, but the real shame is I never got you, Naruto. Your DNA is a complex matrix that is seemingly immune to my virus, and your body gets stronger faster than anything I have ever seen. Wesker said, almost complimenting Naruto. And the thing on her chest? Naruto asked as it looked like a bug. Think of it like a secondary brain with more control than the primary. It's filling her mind with violent thoughts. You, Jill, Kennedy, and the Redfields have become a pest problem, and your genetic value is incredible. Jill is going to kill you all and bring me your corpses, while you get to live since your value is higher alive. Wesker said to him, Jill was the optimal choice after all. You all know each other, you all care for one another, and you all have that sickening sense of loyalty. Jill will end you all, he said in confidence. Okay, I'm hanging up. I want you to know that she won't be able to kill me. You hired me for that SHT city and I took out your best weapon then. You know I am no one's prey. Naruto said as he hung up and proceeded, knowing the fight with Jill was inevitable. Few minutes later. Really should have thought training her over. Naruto thought as Jill lay on the floor unconscious and slightly wounded. He looked worse for wear as he had been holding back as he was trying not to harm her as she was not in her right mind. Few months later, Alcatraz Island. You ever think we're cursed? Naruto asked his gaggle of misfit friends. With what no good looks? Chris said to him teasingly. I mean saving the world. Naruto said to them, I mean Raccoon City, was a start for a lot of things. I mean this crazy F was gonna infect millions after Umbrella F him over and his unit died. He said to them, I mean where the F does it end? Remember Japan, he said to Chris and Leon, who nodded. F clones, man, where does it end with us? He asked no one, in particular, asking the question on all their minds. It ends when we burn Umbrella to the ground. Jill said to them, you saw it same as me, Leon. When that F died on that pillar and he bled, she said as Derek Simmons BLD illuminated the floor revealing an umbrella symbol. Chris was silent as he had the records of that building pulled up after their adventure. He pulled up the floor plan and saw it was indeed Umbrella's symbol hiding in plain sight. Claire was also silent as Umbrella was getting or was always bold in showing their logo, letting people know they hid in plain sight. Hey, think we can all get some downtime for this? Naruto asked them curiously. I always get vacation time, but I am reimbursed whenever they call me back for this SHT. Leon said to them. You, me, and Jill have way too many unused vacation days already. Chris said as working for the BSAA had some perks. Good, cause I say we use some money I stole from Wesker to go on vacation to somewhere tropical, an actual island, not this death trap. Naruto said, getting some cheers from the Redfield family. Fruity drinks and sunshine could be fun. Leon said with a chuckle. Oh, can I? Rebecca asked curiously, having been silent. It's on Wesker's dime, so why the F not? Naruto said to her, hey, we're sure that fish thing is dead, right? He asked, getting nods. Good, cause I gotta wash my hair, he said, dunking his head in the water. The others saw their friend dunk their head, but to their surprise, his hair still had a shade of red. Next day. So should we expect any side effects? Leon asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind as Rebecca, as her vaccine seemed to have some side effects as their former blonde friend was now a redhead. Not unless you have dormant cells like him. Rebecca said as she took Naruto's BLD and compared it to an old sample. His mother was a redhead plus he had a myriad of SHT in his BLD, she said, reminding them of all the SHT they had in their systems, and some of it was made either last minute or through some means which wouldn't be considered practical by doctor standards. Mind having our BLD analyzed just to be on the safe side? Jill asked, feeling that needed to be asked. She sighed in relief as Rebecca nodded. Well, besides red hair, is he good? Chris asked, getting a nod. Okay, so this vacation, I say we all get as much beer as humanly possible when we get there, he said as everyone rolled their eyes at that. Few days later. Are they dead? Naruto asked as last night Chris and Leon got drunk off their ass and beat the living SHT out of each other. Claire grabbed a nearby unopened set of beers and began to click them together. I'm up, where's the beer? Chris asked, getting laughed at by the others. Claire put the beers down and opened some nearby whiskey, dipped her fingers in it and brought it to Leon's face, letting him smell it before putting her fingers in his mouth. After sing on them he soon woke up. It's funny she knows how to wake your ass up. Jill said as Claire had them wrapped around her little finger. It was adorable. Next day. After another day of partying, the group had gotten into another state of drunken exhaustion. Jill smiled seeing Claire next to her brother in a similar drunken state. She saw Leon on the floor mumbling to himself like a lunatic. She looked outside and saw Naruto walking away. 1 hour later. Jill was curious as to where Naruto was going as the place they were staying. She saw him go into town. She saw him enter a restaurant. She saw him go to a table where he sat at a table with a familiar blonde woman, Maria Gomez. With Naruto. You done? Naruto asked her curiously. Maria looked at him and nodded. I couldn't get my revenge. What else is there? She said to him. The people who shot your sister's wedding have been dealt with. I'm sorry for what happened to Diego. Naruto said, remembering what happened when they stopped her first viral attack attempt. Maria smiled a little. You always were my hero, she said, taking out a picture of her and him. Why did you clear my name? She asked as Naruto created a false profile for her after he stopped the first attack in New York, which said she was dead after her newest attempt of terrorism. Because. Naruto said, tapping her picture of them. I care for you, he said to her. I'm not the same Naruto. Arius mixed my DNA with Mr. X, also known as Tyrant. Maria said as she did her research that while her BLD was entirely human, she was enhanced, she was stronger and more durable. Jill was listening close by and was shocked as she had heard of this incident, but was surprised how deep it went on all sides. I only have one regret and one wish left in this world. Maria said to Naruto, my regret is leaving you for revenge, she said, as that was the real pain in her heart, as having to part ways with Naruto was not. And your wish? Naruto asked her curiously. I wanna be your SEC/SLV. Maria said, seeing Naruto's eyes widen an inch. I remember the SEC we had, how you'd leave me a broken mess, she said with a smile. I remember how satisfied you left me. I want that again, she said as she extended her leg forward and brushed hers against his. Jill was blushing slightly as she had heard of Naruto's SXL exploits, but hearing like this was a bit much. I also discovered, you may have had someone take my place. Maria said, showing him a picture of one Angela Miller. Does she please you? She asked, truly curious. Jill was aware of this as after Angela's brother's attack, she joined BSAA as she was one of the few to survive a bio-terrorist attack like their group. Even though it was a small incident, she worked directly under Naruto, but the rumor was they were more than partners. I wish to please you again, MSTR. Maria said, her voice carrying an unusual purr given her often icy exterior. Jill watched as they left the restaurant and followed them as subtly as she could. Motel. Maria reminisced as she thought back to when she and Naruto dated. They used to rut like animals, not often making it back to their place of residence. They often did it in their cars or rushed to the nearest motel where they could go at it like rabbits in heat. This motel was a LVHTL thankfully, so it was very clean. Naruto bought a bottle of wine for them to enjoy as they on the bed. You had me wrapped around your finger and still treated me like a queen. Maria said to Naruto as she strpped out of her leather body suit, but in bed you treated me like your wear, she said as she loved the attention she got from him in bed as he was rough, powerful, and wrecked her. No, I was your MSTR. Naruto said, giving her bare Peach a slap, feeling her durability more. Guess she was telling the truth, she is more durable now, he thought, thinking of the giant clones of Mr. X he and Leon faced in that small country. Maria smiled at the slap as she knew he hit her with a bit of strength, as even in her enhanced state she felt that he was always more than human. She thought as Arius and even Weskier saw Naruto as the epitome of human evolution, as his BLD and body were able to fight against the individual viruses, diseases, and parasites. Both had honestly thought of him as superhuman, and they were accurate, as she had recently seen Naruto engage in close combat with Lickers and won, and he's still stronger. She thought as even with her enhancements Naruto was still her equal, if not stronger, and she could punch through cement. Naruto began to fjure her, feeling her give in to his touch. Maria felt her mind go hazy as Naruto reminded her of all their previous encounters. She felt his member get hard and felt her mouth moisten. It's unfair, I'm the only one Neki, she said, receiving another slap to her Peach. She was put on all fours and soon saw Naruto's TRP, seeing his muscular body, seeing it was even more defined than the last time she saw it. She feeling his PP between her Peach cheeks. She soon felt him tapping the entrance to her back door. With your new durability, I can F your Peach as hard as I want. Naruto said, going full force on Maria's rectum. Maria with each move feeling his hips slam against her Peach. She screamed out as she clicked as she felt his hands on her chest manhandling her bust. My god, he's still a beast, she thought, as this was even more wild than before. Naruto pulled her head back and kissed her, his TQ violating her mouth and dominating every inch. Maria rocked and bucked her Peach as she felt Naruto begin to leak ins her lows. She let out a whiny feeling Naruto pull out an in surprise, feeling him rub his between her PP lips. She let out a few tears. Are you gonna knock me up? She asked, as when they were dating, she dearly wanted children, but was still in the middle of developing her career. Naruto refused to ruin that for her, so he always did outside of her, despite her numerous protests and constant begging for him to leak ins her. You're my SECSLV, aren't you? I can do whatever I want to you. Naruto said to her, feeling her PP quiver. Maria felt much weaker than she ever had before as Naruto truly took his role as her MSTR. She tensed up hearing the door open and saw Angela Miller enter. She smiled at her and walked to Naruto and kissed him. How are you, MSTR? Angela asked, getting her answer as Naruto began to fjure her. She saw juices dripping out Maria's Peach and scooped it up and tasted in. She savored it quickly as Naruto increased the speed of his fjuring and made her CLMX. Not a second later he tore off her clothing. Maria was jealous seeing Naruto manhandle Angela, desperately wishing to be in her place. She maintained her position. She didn't have to wait long as Naruto pulled her by her hair, making her stand up. So you're Maria? Angela said as she was impressed by her body. Naruto was vivid in what you both did, she said, as she always felt she had to live up to this woman's ability after she and Naruto started dating and he completely dominated her. After each encounter she was marveled and often asked him what his last girlfriend was like to be able to handle the monster that was his PP. What she heard rocked her to her core, and ever since she had tried to get a step ahead of this woman. And you're my replacement, Maria thought to herself. Naruto stared at both women and knew what this was. They were sizing the other up as while both were his women. They were trying to decide who between them would be the woman at his center of attention. They wanted to be his favorite. 1 hour later. Yes, Poppy, please fill me up, knock up your B, and let me give you little blonde and red hair babies, Maria said loudly as Naruto deaded her PP, reaching into her most sacred place. She bucked her Peach as she clicked and soon felt Naruto begin to stuff her WMB. Naruto got Maria in a full Nelson and looked to Angela. Lick, he ordered her, seeing her comply. You be. Maria thought, wanting to glare, but her pleasured face betrayed her. She and Angela had been devouring the juices Naruto had put in them, and it didn't matter what hole it was in, they wanted to devour it all. Angela liked Maria's PP clean, able to feel and taste her anger. MSTR, please fill my empty PP with your juices. Your SLV wants to give you as many children as you want, she said lustfully. Naruto placed Maria on the bed and grabbed Angela, getting into her Peach powerfully, and then her PP switching between the two holes quickly, making her scream in pure bliss. Maria smiled seeing Angela was breaking. her mind wouldn't be able to handle all the pleasure soon enough. You have my thanks for attending to my MSTR Angela, she thought in gratitude as Angela was there for Naruto when she wasn't. We will bear his children, she thought as if not tonight she would acquire certain DRGs to make them very likely to get impregnated the next time Naruto used them for his pleasure. Next door. Jill was cheering herself looking through a peephole she made, watching Naruto make those two his D sleeves. I wonder what he'd do to me, she thought to herself, wondering what Naruto would do to her body, wondering if she would be treated the same as those two. Next day. Rebecca listened to Jill go into detail about what Naruto did to Maria and Angela. She hated Maria as she had been the one to kidnap her, but listening to Jill go into vivid detail about the Naruto had given them, she had always had a crush on Naruto after he, Leon, and Chris saved her from Maria's former boss. But it was more than that. Naruto tried to comfort her as they all fought Arius. It was nice. But what touched her soul was when Naruto looked her dead into her eyes and told her, "We are going to save you, I swear on my life." That right there was when she felt that Naruto would go to the ends of the earth to save her in the limited time there was. Dear sweet God, I knew he could fight, but what he did to them was insane. Jill said to them. Join the club, sister. After that SHT that went down with WP Corporation, we were in quarantine after that SHT. Claire said as they were being tested, having been exposed to both viruses. Angela snuck into Naruto's room and blew him, she said as she remembered how much of SLT she was for him then and now knew she was an even bigger one. All the women became wet thinking about Naruto. Rebecca, being the smart one, knew that the best plan was to act immediately. She messaged Naruto and heard he was going out surfing on a private bee. She snuck away from Claire and Jill. 1 hour later. Rebecca sat on the sand getting a nice tan as she watched Naruto surfing the waves, seeing the sun shine onto his wet form. God, does he ever not look handsome, she thought to herself before a shadow loomed over her and she saw Maria in a two-piece baikais. Here to kidnap me again? She asked her curiously. Not unless Naruto wants me to. Maria said to her, completely serious. Rebecca knew she was being completely serious as this woman all but worshipped Naruto. If he told her to do something, she'd have done it pure and simple. Do you want to be his? Maria asked her, seeing the look of lust and longing directed to her MSTR. He saved my life, been there for me when times got tough, I do his physical. Rebecca said, getting a look from Maria. His BLD is highly resistant to the virus. I am the doctor that does all his medical checkups, she said to her. And did you collect any other samples other than BLD? Maria asked, wondering if she had to collect a certain material from Naruto. Rebecca blushed as she was ashamed to admit, but she had Naruto's tea in front of her as he leaked into a cup. It got embarrassing when it overfilled and it dripped all over her table. You look so much like my sister. Maria said, cupping her face. Rebecca was a little worried as she wondered if this be another Arius situation. Before Arius, my sister joined me in pleasing Naruto. I was less than what I am now. Maria said as when she was human Naruto would destroy her. It got to the point she asked her sister for help and it got RTC between them fast. I remember how she used to lick my oles after Naruto filled them, how I squeezed her head between my thighs, she said as she was disappointed when her sister had to stop as she found a lover in Arius. If she stayed his SLT, she'd still be alive, she thought to herself. Rebecca looked at Maria's thighs and shuddered. She had a few lesbian experiences but she still preferred men, but she couldn't stop herself from thinking of herself liking Naruto's juices out of either of her oles and being crushed by those thighs. Maria saw Rebecca was lost in thought or having a lust-filled daydream. She leaned in close to her ear. Become Naruto's bee, Rebecca. It is wonderful, she said in a soft purr. Better yet, let him take you on this bee. No one but us is here, and maybe if you beg, she said, putting extra emphasis on the beg part, you can even get knocked up, she said as she heard Rebecca shudder, and it pleased Maria greatly. Rebecca admitted to herself she often wondered what it would be like to be bred by Naruto, as every time she collected his SMN it made her wonder what he could do to her. Maria undid her baikais and slowly undyed Rebecca's as well. She pushed Rebecca down so she was just on the towel and got in the reverse CWGRLPOS and sat on her face. Rebecca instinctively began to eat her out. Maria smiled as she had much to teach her. She smiled at Naruto who watched them in the distance. She shook her tips at him hoping to entice him. She pressed her peach deep into Rebecca's face. Rebecca ate Maria out as best she could, never having such an aggressive partner like her before. Maria felt herself shivering in anticipation as Naruto came out the water. He was very irked. She saw he wasn't making a sound and smiled, catching on. She watched him remove his trunk, seeing his PP at full mast. "Which ole is she liking right now?" Naruto asked Maria. "My peach," Maria said in complete and total honesty, smiling as she watched her MSTR align himself with her ole and that into it without warning. Rebecca screamed, never having her back door breached and never so aggressively. "He feels bigger than he looks," she thought in slight discomfort as he F her peach, or "I'm so small," she thought as tall men found smaller women attractive. She wondered how much he'd stretch out her PP next. Naruto picked up the pace, stepping aggressively into her. "He's going to break her," Maria thought in amusement, wondering how desperate Rebecca would be after this taste. Rebecca felt her peach would shatter from how aggressive Naruto was being. She screamed when she felt Naruto begin to shoot his load. If this was in my PP he'd have knocked me up, she thought in embarrassment as she really wanted Naruto to F her like that and stuff her full of his juices. Maria smiled as Naruto pulled out of her peach. "Your PP is next," she said to Rebecca. Rebecca soon felt like she was going to black out from the pleasure she was receiving. Next day, Maria felt pleasure as she awoke. When she opened her eyes, she saw Rebecca liking her MSTR's juices off her body. "You are a fine bee," she said to Rebecca as she soon began liking lower and started eating Naruto's juices out her oles. "Whenever Naruto isn't using you, know that I will be," she said in a serious voice, wrapping her legs around Rebecca's head. "Naruto is your MSTR, that is absolute, never forget that," she said, unconsciously squeezing Rebecca's head aggressively. "But you will belong to me in his absence," she said, loving how Rebecca made her felt. Rebecca felt lightheaded when Maria said that and soon screamed as Maria stood up and picked her up, placing them in a standing 69 as they liked each other clean. With Claire. Claire couldn't stop thinking of what Jill had told them as Naruto was too hot to ignore. He was having SEC like it was spring break, and to be honest, she wanted a piece. She was in Angela's room knowing the bee was cornier for Naruto than anyone, and after a quick search she found something, a camera. She thought seeing an abundance of memory cards. She inserted one and nearly dropped the camera as it was a sec tape. Angela was tied and bound and Naruto was F her. She watched it and then put in another, seeing Angela now dressed as a maid. The next was of her being F outside. "How many SEC tapes does she have?" she thought, rubbing her thighs as the videos were hot. "I knew she was a SLT, but this is next level," she thought to herself. She spread her legs and began to fjure herself. Angela walked into her room and saw Claire on her bed fjuring herself and watching her SEC tapes of her and Naruto. It was no secret the two didn't like each other, but Angela knew Naruto had a soft spot for her. She moved through her room silently and strppd. Claire as she felt something breach her peach. She nearly dropped the camera as she saw Angela fjuring her. "Dirty bee, grin yourself on my bed," Angela said before kissing Claire. "You want to get F by my MSTR, don't you?" she asked, seeing Claire breathe in lust, making her smile. She roughly done her clothing. "He'll be here soon. He was going to F me, but with you here I have a better idea," she said, reaching into one of her bags and pulled out a pair of collars and leashes. "You'll be his new bee, the one he needs to break in," she said, tossing her a red collar and leash while she put on a black one. Claire looked at the collar and she had to give Angela credit for going full throttle and being a SLT, as the collar was real leather and the ID tag was real silver and engraved with property of Naruto. "He is my MSTR. If he wants something I will do everything in my power to give it to him, and he wants you, Claire," Angela said as her MSTR was insatiable. She would give him this disrespectful bee. Claire at the thought of Naruto wanting her, F her like how he had F the SLT before her. Few minutes later, Claire was nervous as Angela was on of her, their tips pressing against each other, their pussies rubbing against each other. She was pinned and Angela was smiling at her. "I asked him to knock me up today," Angela said, surprising Claire. "I gave him things to make him more potent and restless," she said as she had gotten Naruto pills to increase him SMN's potency and SEC DRGS to further his stamina. and given he effed the daylights out of her on a daily basis, giving him performance enhancers was like asking for her peach to be shattered. Now, I have no idea what he'll do to you, but it won't matter. Because if he does or doesn't knock you up you'll be his no matter what, she said, kissing her the minute she heard the doors open. 1 hour later. Claire looked at Angela and was surprised and shocked at what Naruto had done to her. Her PP had juices gushing out of her PP, her stomach looked 4 months PRGN and she had a large smile and stupid grin plastered on her face. "Are you gonna knock me up too?" she asked nervously, rubbing her thighs together. She as he grabbed her by her collar and got her on all fours. Claire as Naruto moved into her PP, making her scream out in pleasure. She looked at the camera as before they started. Angela placed a camera to capture this moment of both getting impregnated and Claire's first time with Naruto. She every time she knew the camera was getting her at her most vulnerable. Next day. Jill had a hard time sleeping as Naruto had all the women that had juices on this trip all except her. Does he not find me attractive? She thought, wondering why he didn't pursue her. She had seen him those women to the point he was more accurately trying to breed them. Angela certainly wanted it and Claire may certainly have been after last night. Claire was willing to admit to herself she always felt attracted to Naruto. He was with her fighting to survive the city that haunted her nightmares. He saved her countless times. He freed her from Weskier's control. He was everything she wanted herself to be. It made her feel a strong attraction to him. Claire mulled over if she should be with him. He had a literal army of women who she was bitterly able to admit were just as if not more attractive than her. Could I really handle him? She thought as thinking of Naruto going at her like a wild animal made her soaking wet. And what if he did knock me up? She thought to herself, thinking of having a child with one of the few men she respected in life. With Naruto. I swear to God. Naruto said, cracking his neck as he was holding a familiar-looking bot. Weskier sent someone here for God's sake. He thought, wondering who he sent for this CRP as he was sure Ada wasn't this bored or dumb. 1 hour later. I swear this thing never stops being creepy. Jill said as Naruto called her over when he had the bot strapped down. Luckily for us I studied the design, I changed the signal. Naruto said to her. And that does what? Jill asked him. Weskier has this broadcasting on a unique frequency where he has a computer running the controls, or rather manipulating the host to follow orders. I changed the signal to something I have on hand. Naruto said as he asked Rebecca for a computer, and right now the bot was under his control. Jill picked it up and placed it on her chest, feeling slight fear given that this type of device took over her mind. Hard to believe such a little thing has so much power, she said to him. Believe it or not, it can do more than what Weskier programmed it to do. Naruto said, getting her attention. Such as? Jill asked, looking at the bot more carefully. It can tap into your brain directly, tap into certain parts of the brain. In all honesty, this thing can unleash the brain's potential, or at the very least what is truly inside a person, their secrets, hidden feelings, restraints. This breaks down all our walls. Naruto said to her. 2 hours later. Have you become dumber than you were yesterday? Why the F would you want to do this? Rebecca asked curiously. I just want to know what I'm hiding. Jill said to her, blushing up a storm. I understand needing a push, but there is booze for that, liquid courage. You'd rather do a high-tech brain scramble that is potentially harmful? Rebecca asked her, wondering if she thought this through. Yes. Jill said, not needing a moment to think about it. This group. Rebecca thought, wondering what that said about her as she was part of it. 10 minutes later. This is a problem. Rebecca said as she activated the bot and sent some electrical stimuli to Jill's brain and learned she had quite the RTC and lewd mind. When she deactivated it, Jill should have went back to normal. Instead, her energy was turbocharged, her stress levels were down, and she seemed happy, for a lack of a better word. I need to go find our daddy. Becca, mind giving me the 411 on his location? Jill asked, feeling more upbeat. Did you just call Naruto daddy? Rebecca asked, never thinking she'd hear Jill speak so sensually and in a way that made her sound salty and a bit childish. Yep, God, he's so handsome. I want him to punish my naughty peach and I want to have his babies. Jill said to her. Rebecca was glad Jill was still plugged into her monitor. Holy SHT, she's telling the truth. she thought, reading her charts. 10 minutes later. This is Jill Valentine, with no inhibitions. Naruto asked Rebecca over the phone as Jill barged into his room. Yeah, she may be stuck like this, or more accurately, this is the real Jill without the trauma or the baggage we have all stored up all these years. Hell, if this is the result, I may want to hit. Rebecca said as she still remembers when she had a virus injected into her body and it scared her immensely. If she could rid herself of that for even a few hours, that would be heaven. Punish me, Naruto, I've been a naughty girl to you for a long time and my body needs to be smacked and SPNKED till I've learned my lesson. Jill said as she strpped. She has no restraint. Rebecca said to him as that actually sounded kinda nice in her opinion. She wondered if she had any restraints when having SEC with Naruto. This be an interesting way to see what happens when one's walls are down. Naruto didn't get a chance to answer as Jill tackled him and threw his phone a good distance away. Come on, Naruto, this is just about you and me. You've been F all the girls in pairs, you should focus on me. It's gonna be just us tonight. You're gonna F my ol' raw until my peach are shattered. Jill said, lustfully licking her lips before claiming Naruto's. Naruto had to admit, this was very hot. He grabbed Jill and brought her to the bed, and strpped down. As Jill got on all fours, he saw a familiar red spiral on her peach. When did you get my symbol? He asked her, wondering when she got it. I got it after you saved me from Weskier. I wanted it to remind me of the man I would get to plow my peach. Jill said confidently before as she got a SPNK to her peach. Oh daddy, she said lewdly without shame. SPNK me harder, till my peach is red, she said beggingly. Naruto was happy to oblige as he SPNKED each cheek roughly and aggressively. Jill panted with each SLP she got to her peach. Daddy, my peach isn't the only thing that needs to be taught a lesson, my PP needs to be F, she said as her PP was dripping like a faucet. She as Naruto got her on her back and spread her legs apart. God, he's so big, she thought, blushing lustily. Leak ins me and fill me up like those bees, daddy. PRG me, she said, thinking what it'd be like to carry his child. All you had to do was ask. Naruto said, thatting into her, making her scream as he pushed himself deep into her. Oh God, F my WMB daddy, it needs your juices, knock me up please. Jill said, beggingly, needing to be filled and F thoroughly. She screamed as his that were becoming rougher and more aggressive. God, she's become such a BMB, I kinda like it. Naruto thought to himself as Jill was usually so reserved, seeing her so honest and SXL was extremely tempt. Yes. Jill said, feeling his PP twitch ins her PP and as her mind went blank for a bit as he flooded her ins. So much, how does he have so much, she thought as she remembered watching him fill the other girls. She and panted as her stomach felt like it was bloating. You know, it'll take more than one load to make sure you get PRGNNT. Naruto said eagerly as he began to move into her again. Jill dumbly as she felt all his juices slosh around in her, churning as he F her into the bed. I'm gonna have his babies, she thought in excitement. 1 hour later. So she's broken? Rebecca asked, not really one to talk, but Jill seemed to be extra broken given how salty she was being. Yep. Naruto said as Jill rode his PP and he smacked her tips and peach again. They were very red from all the aggressive treatment he had been giving them. Any of her usual personality traits coming back? Rebecca asked curiously. Yeah, but when she's corny she's like this. Naruto said to her, getting a nod. Guess she was always a SLT, but was just good at hiding it. Rebecca said as Jill flashed her a peace sign before screaming as she had another CLMX. Rebecca, you should have daddy Naruto knock you up, you're his B2, it's your duty to spread your legs and get filled as he F you to completion, he OWNS you. Jill said happily. Rebecca blushed once again, thinking of getting knocked up. I am your B if you want to knock me up, I'll spread my legs for you right now, she said, winking at the man who owned her body. All the girls are your B's, daddy, just tell them what to do and they'll do it or be punished. Jill said, spanking Rebecca's peach for added effect. Naruto chuckled as he and the others enjoyed the rest of their vacation. Few weeks later. A swamp? Naruto asked the president with Leon and the rest of their team. Yes, we intercepted a message originating from there along with visual. One of our agents is still alive in a manner of speaking, the president said, seeing their faces. She's alive, but we're not sure on her mental state, he said to them. There's more, isn't there? Naruto asked him, seeing his eyes holding something back. The person the message was intended for has begun traveling to the spot where we intend to send you, the president said to them, giving them a file. New recruit? Chris asked Naruto, looking over the file. I mean, he has the basic skills for it, but is Wesker involved? Naruto asked him curiously. It is undetermined if Wesker plays a role in this particular area, the president said to them, as his staff had no idea what to make of it, as it was a black zone for pretty much everything. No one had been there and it was a swamp. So we have a possible bow location that keeps people more alive than dead, turns them crazy. We have zero idea how it's spreading. And this is the best part, we're allowing a civilian to go first to test the waters. Naruto asked, wondering if he got all that, and this is just a guess, but I'm assuming there are incendiary missiles and the like pointed at that whole area, he asked, getting a nod from the president. Starting to think you were onto something with that curse remark. Leon said to him, as this was a dozy even by their standards. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.